What is going on, fishy friends? Rich here, Rich's Fishes. Just got home from work, taking a walk around the fish room, and I've got some things to do. I got a boatload of deliveries in the past day or two, and I gotta go ahead and start unboxing everything. So I figured, why not film it? Who doesn't love an unboxing video? So, let me pause the camera, set a tripod up, and get to work over here. Lots of goodies. Alright guys, so the first thing we got is a box from Amazon. I don't know about you guys, I tend to order a lot from Amazon. I am an Amazon Prime member. A lot of the stuff I need in the fish room, I end up purchasing from Amazon. A lot of the things I need in my everyday life, I end up purchasing from Amazon. Matter of fact, I recently started including Amazon affiliate links in the descriptions in all my videos, and I'll probably set up an Amazon store soon. If anybody's unfamiliar with that, basically what it is a link on my videos and or on my YouTube page that brings you to a particular product on Amazon. If you choose to buy that product after clicking my link, I get a couple of pennies from it. Costs you the same amount. Amazon doesn't charge you anything different than they would if you were to search for the item yourself. And all it requires is you clicking that link to begin your shopping on Amazon from my YouTube description and or my Amazon affiliate page that I haven't yet set up. But I do have the Amazon affiliate links. And what I've just learned is if you just click one of those links and then buy anything else, even if it's not something I linked, I still get some credit for that. So I figured that was a good way for me to start making a couple extra bucks off this hobby. I'm hoping I can sort of have the hobby sustain itself between Amazon affiliate links and maybe a couple of bucks from YouTube here and there, eventually breeding and selling some fish. So if you like what I do and you're already buying stuff from Amazon, do me a favor, click one of those links below. Let's see what we got from Amazon today. Somebody had commented in my last unboxing video that I needed a real box cutter. I have a real box cutter. I have a variety of utility knives, hunting knives, fishing knives, construction knives, box cutters. I just didn't happen to have any of them with me at work when I did that last unboxing video a couple of weeks ago. I will admit too, with this paper fibrous tape, I don't even typically use a knife, but for the purposes of the video, I will. It's great for chopping up packing material. Wonderful. One huge box, and all we got in here is an ammonia test kit. Now you might be saying, Rich, how do you not already have an ammonia test kit? Of course I already have an ammonia test kit. I have the API Master Kit. However, I've used it so much over the years that I've added onto it. I've added tests as needed, and I am all out of the ammonia solutions. So, now I got a couple more ammonia solutions. Saltwater ammonia card. I don't keep saltwater tanks, so I don't need that. I'll end up throwing out the box. I'll put these over on one of my shelves where I keep my regular test kits. Honestly, I don't really need this card either. I know I'm essentially always looking for yellow because that means 0, and I should never actually have any ammonia. Now on that same topic, I don't necessarily test my aquarium water all that often anymore, specifically with an ammonia test. Once you have an established filter and the tank has been up and running for a while, there's really never any situation where you should see a discernible amount of ammonia. And if you do, something has gone very, very wrong, and the beneficial bacteria is no longer doing its job, and you've potentially crashed your tank. But that's a topic for another day. So, let's see. One box, empty, done, gone. We'll move on to the next one. Kerplunk, I don't know if you can hear that. Alright, box number 2. Let's see, I've taken off some of the material here. You know what? I'm going to save this one for later. I think I know what this one is, and it was actually order number 2 from somewhere. Let's see. This one, I'm honestly not sure what this one is off the top of my head. Let's see. All this fancy tape here actually says if this tape is broken, please check contents. Well, the tape isn't broken, so I don't have to check anything and don't have to refuse delivery or anything like that. Let's open it up and see what we got. There's actually a weird bulge in the package here, and I think that is all just from the packing material. Actually some interesting bubble wrap. I've never seen this bubble wrap like this before. Reminds me of the cool packs. If you've ever gotten fish delivered in the summer, and the seller has decided that it was too hot to ship and included cool packs, that's what those remind me of. So we got here is 3 new Eheim Jaegar heaters. Boy, these are much bigger boxes than I would have expected. I think I have a couple of these 200 watt heaters and don't recall them being quite so large. Part of the problem, I think, is ridiculous packaging material because the heater is not as big as it looks. We got a couple of new Eheim Jaegar heaters. I love these heaters. They've got a great reputation. They had a better reputation when they were the Ebo Jaegar, I think it was, before they were Eheim. But as far as I understand, they have not changed the design of the heaters. Anybody who's been in this hobby for a short period of time has probably already experienced, unfortunately, the downside of some crappy aquarium heaters, and there are quite a few brands out there, many of which are, you know, subpar, I guess, is what you might want to say. This is interesting too. This 200 watt heater they claim is good for up to a 106 gallon aquarium. I don't know how they're doing their math there. 2 watts a gallon? I always aim for 5 watts a gallon roughly, just to play it safe. I got a little diagram on the side here, a listing on the side, I suppose I should say, of what wattage heater belongs in what size aquarium. So they say a 25 watt heater is good for a 5 to 7 gallon tank, all the way up to a 300 watt heater being good for 159 to a 264 gallon tank. For the all encompassing super rare 264 gallon tank, I don't know who the hell has a 264 gallon tank. There's some pretty standard sizes in this hobby, and 264 gallons is not one of them. Either is a 16 gallon tank or a 26 gallon tank, or a 53 gallon tank for that matter, but I guess they're using the spirit of the law, so to say, and doing whatever math they're using to say that X number of watts is good for X number of gallons. It's funny too, they still list this as a new feature over here on the side, this true temp dial, which everyone thinks means that these heaters are calibrated perfectly out of the box. That's another problem with aquarium heaters. You set a heater to 78 degrees, chances are you are not going to get 78 degree water. The heaters aren't smart enough, they're not digitally controlled, they're not smart enough to know what 78 degrees is. They know that they're supposed to turn on and off at a certain point. The dial happens to point to 78. And the Eheim Jaegar heaters know that there's an issue there, so they include this little red ring. The red ring goes around the top of the heater. Let me see if I can't actually get the heater out and show you what the hell I'm talking about. So, this heater right here is set to 79 degrees roughly. Now if I put this in my tank and found that I wasn't reaching 79 degrees, what you can end up doing is you pull the calibration, well, you can just move it like this. So if I find that when I actually set to, where were we before? 79, right? If I turn it to 79 and find out that it's really creeping all the way up to 81, I can just slide the little red dial over to 81, and now it points to 81 when I'm set there. But the control of the heater hasn't changed, so I can move the red dial to anywhere I want and make it reflect what temperature I'm actually seeing. So that's a nifty little feature. Honestly, I don't bother using it. I really don't care what number the heater is pointing to. I care more about what it's actually heating the tank to. So I look at a thermostat in the tank, and or use a thermostat for the tank, and just spend a little bit of time setting up a heater before I trust it, so to say. Alright, and I got no use for this guy. Name that movie. Alright, next. Another box with that same tape that indicates don't accept the package if the tape looks fucked up, basically. Oh, pardon my French there, guys. Earmuffs. So, yeah, it's funny too, because I can't remember where these particular boxes came from. I had placed orders from a couple of different people. That's that same bubble wrap. This is, I believe these came from Amazon. No, I know where these came from. This came from Big Als Pets. I've never ordered from Big Als Pets before. As a matter of fact, I always thought Big Als Pets was a Canadian-only company. And there was one very specific product I was looking for. And here's a quick shout out to Corey from Aquarium Co-op. Corey, I hope you don't get upset. This is a product I had always intended on purchasing from Corey. It's the 1 pound container of API EM erythromycin and the API General Cure. These are some medicines that well, that's a lie. I've never used either one specifically. I've never been able to find the erythromycin near me, and I can't say it, so maybe I won't be able to use it. And the General Cure is a combination of Metroplex and Prazipro. I've used those two independently, or individually, I should say, with good results. And I've wanted to have these in the fish room for quarantining purposes. I got those new rams recently and I wanted to have the meds on hand before the rams came. I've already had the rams for a couple of days now, and they're not showing any signs of illness. I still probably will medicate just in case. The erythromycin is an antibiotic, so it's good for bacterial infections. I believe gram-negative. Don't quote me on that. I'd have to double check. Now that's kind of a bummer. The cap is completely destroyed, and I've got granules everywhere. Well, I shouldn't have opened that at all. I'm gonna have to repurpose a peanut butter jar or something so that way I can actually keep that closed. But that's the General Cure, which is an anti-parasitic medicine. Now, why I brought up Corey from Aquarium Co-op. Corey from Aquarium Co-op is one of the first people I saw using one of these giant bottles of this stuff, so to say. 850 grams. Are they both 850 grams? They're both 850 grams. They're relatively pricey. They're almost $100. Corey from Aquarium Co-op was one of the first people I saw use the large bottle, and his website was one of the first places I found the bottle. However, when I was actually ready to buy it, Corey was out of stock. So I went searching elsewhere, and I actually found a really, really good deal on Big Als Pets. It was on sale for about 25% off of their normal price, and their normal price was pretty close to what I've seen it everywhere else, which is around $100. So I think with the sale, I got each of these for about 75 bucks. Don't quote me on that. I know it was a good sale, though, and despite my want to frequent aquariumcoop.com and help out Corey for all the help he's given me, I couldn't pass up this deal, so I'll have to wait and place another order from Corey for something else someday. But anyway, I was pretty happy with the Big Als website. I don't know if anybody's ever seen that logo before, if you've ever seen anybody opening fish. I get the impression that they're like a small local fish store with a variety of locations and a good online presence, and I've definitely heard of them before, but just never done anything. So, we also got 2 Marina battery-powered air pumps. I've got quite a few of these in the back of the fish room. Luckily, I've never had to use them. But, in the event of a power outage, I'm going to need to operate each and every one of my sponge filters, and I've got quite a few in this fish room. So, this could save my ass one day. Hopefully I have enough batteries to run them. That's something I should be buying at the same time. This is probably a cichlid hut, a cichlid stone, a cichlid cave. I'll use this in an Apisto tank at some point in my life. Oh, it actually is the Cobalt Aquatic Cichlid Hut. This is another thing that I've seen on various websites. I've ordered quite a few from Amazon myself. There's one particular time I ordered quite a lot from Amazon at once, and almost all of them came broken. So it's nice to see Big Als uses quite a lot of packing material and was able to get a very delicate item to my house in one piece. And like I said, I thought Big Als was Canada only, but I believe this stuff shipped from, I don't know if it's just the fulfillment center, if not one of their stores in upstate New York somewhere. I believe it was in the Buffalo or perhaps the Plattsburgh area. I remember noticing an address listed somewhere for it. There's another cichlid hut that's a little bit larger and a little more misshapen. These things are definitely all handmade. Nothing wrong with that. Each is unique, each is individual. These are meant to be stacked on top of one another with that flat top there. But obviously the larger size one isn't meant to be stacked with, and I wouldn't stack the two at the same time anyway. And then here we got dip and pours, or critter keepers, or whatever you call them. I think these are technically not the dip and pour, but they're, oh, that's weird. This is a much different plastic than the other ones I've had and used in the past. Maybe it's because it's not the Lee's brand. This is what I've already had. Lee's brand. These are called, this one actually isn't called a dip and pour. This one might just be a specimen container. But this is like acrylic, whereas this is like a soft, pliable plastic. It reminds me of like a deli container almost, like what you'd get potato salad or soup in, or maybe like one of those disposable Ziploc Tupperware things. Anyway, it'll serve its purpose. I need a few more of these. I have a few already, but I'm always looking for more. So now I have 2 more. And it's very odd because multiple websites that carry the Lee's Dip and Pour, which is their, you know, brand name, so to say, for that container. I'll go grab that one and show the difference in a second. But various different sources were out of stock, and I wonder if the company has stopped making them. Same thing with this one. You know, it's a soft, pliable plastic. Nothing wrong with that, but it's just not what I expected. That's not the dip and pour one either. I might have bought a couple of more of these. See, this is a non-branded one that I've already had, and this is acrylic just like the Lee's. And this one here also doesn't say Lee's. I thought it did, but this is the dip and pour because it has the, I don't know, the flutes on the edge, so technically you can dip it into the tank and pour it back out. So now I got a bunch more of those, which is always good. Oh, they fit into each other, they nest. And this is probably my invoice, or my receipt, or my bill of lading, or whatever the hell you call it. It's listed as an invoice, and that's that. Alright, next. Next we got a box from Gemco. Gemco is a company in New Jersey that specializes in materials used by fish keepers, specifically people keeping fish rooms and/or fish stores, or sort of large quantities of things and larger versions of things that might be overkill for your average fish keeper. But for my purposes, they suit me very well. I've talked about Gemco in the past. I've placed orders from Gemco in the past. I've used a Gemco diaphragm air pump to run my central air system to run all my sponge filters in this fish room for over a year now. And as I've recently been expanding, it was time to call Gemco and place another order because I needed not only more air valves, I needed another giant spool of airline tubing. I forget what this is, 100 feet? A million feet? Doesn't say it anywhere. It's the same spool I had last that lasted me a good year or so. I like this silicone airline tubing. As some other fish keepers have, I'm sure, noticed, the silicone does get hard and brittle after a while. But I like the clear silicone stuff for air. And then, the most important part of this box is what I can't get out. Let's see, I can do this somehow. Is a second diaphragm air pump. This is a DAP MH30. It's a tiny bit smaller than the one I'm currently running, which is a DAP MH40. The way Gemco described it, the 30 stands for 30 liters per hour? Minute? Minute. 30 liters per minute, and the 40 stands for 40 liters per minute. However, right here it says 44 liters per minute at 1.5 psi, so I think Gemco undersells, under-advertises how strong their pumps really are. You know, they suggest that the DAP MH40 can run, you know, 25 drops or something like that. I've got like 30-something drops in the room without issue. So it's nice. I'd rather they undersell than oversell. I wouldn't want them to tell me these pumps are strong enough to run 100 tanks, and meanwhile I max out at 20-something. So I'll end up adding this into my system because I need to add more tanks eventually. And I need to make sure I have enough airflow to make it happen. So, these are diaphragm air pumps, so there is a filter that needs to be cleaned. There is a diaphragm that theoretically needs to be replaced. Speaking of which, I seem to be missing something out of this box. I had ordered from John at Gemco a diaphragm rebuild kit because I've been running my pump for about a year now without having rebuilt it. And better safe than sorry, if a diaphragm does fail, I would like to be able to replace it without issue. Now here what I got is, this should be a pressure gauge, which is interesting because they spell gauge wrong on the box. They spell gauge the way Ford does in my car. Let me see that pressure. That's supposed to say gauge. That's not how I spell gauge. But what I've been doing, when I first set up the system, I was bleeding off some pressure because the pump was larger than what I needed, and they recommended I bleed off some pressure. However, at that time last year, they were all out of these gauges, so I was just kind of playing it by ear, so to say. So I'll have to figure out a nice way to mount this gauge. And it's listed as centimeters of water, and what John said is I should be running, he didn't have any inches, so I got to do the translation of centimeters to inches. I got to double check exactly what John said, but I believe he said if my deepest tank is 24 inches deep, I want to be running at 24 inches of water, or whatever the centimeter equivalent of that is. I'll have to do the math and figure that out. I do not see the rebuild kit. I'm going to have to double check with John. It's very possible I didn't order it from him, although we had spoken about it. I've had this box for a couple of days now, so I hope John doesn't have an issue with me calling him and saying, hey, you forgot something. But we'll worry about that later. I'm not too concerned. I'm sure John will make right if he needs to. Get all these things out of the way. And then, so this is all the ancillary stuff that I will need to connect this to my system. And that's that. And then after I placed that first order with John from Gemco, I called him back. Gemco's website, it's a nice website and all, but you really can't order from it. It's actually quite an antiquated website. It's a little rough on the eyes, a little difficult to navigate. So I was on the phone with John placing that order, and I was hemming and hawing for 10 minutes because I said to him, I said, man, I know there was some other things I was planning on buying, and now I can't remember. So I called him a day later after the first order already shipped, and I got myself 2 Gemco brine shrimp hatcheries. Now I've had a DIY hatchery going for quite a while, and I don't know, I'm just not thrilled with the way it operates and how it works. So I'm going to try out these Gemco brine shrimp hatcheries. I got 2 of them, so that way I can have 2 batches going. Well, have 1 batch going and start the next one the next day. So let me show you what I'm talking about here. So up there is my first Gemco air pump, the diaphragm pump. That comes out into the PVC. The PVC runs around the entire room, and when I set all this up, I ended the PVC here, and now I'm extending past, so I need some more. More air, more tanks, more fish, more Rich's fishes. Alright guys, that's it for now. Rich here signing out. I am sweating like crazy. It is hot as hell down in the fish room. I am still wearing a pair of pants. I'm usually wearing shorts down here. Whew! It's hot. I gotta go rinse off and go eat some dinner finally. And sooner or later I'm going to install all this stuff and work with all this stuff and finish unboxing the rest of this stuff, or at least unpacking it. It's already unboxed, but some of it still has its packing material. And now I gotta clean up, because it's quite a mess. Alright guys, comment, rate, subscribe, let me know what you think. Give me a thumbs up if you like what I'm doing. Give me a thumbs down if you don't. I really wish you wouldn't, but you know, if you really hate it and you watched it this far, hell, you deserve it. Hit that thumbs down button then. Later guys. Oh, don't forget, follow Rich's Fishes, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and of course hit that subscribe button here on YouTube.